Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. It is Tuesday. Yesterday was a full moon, and it was weird. It was really, really weird, for sure. There was some weird stuff that went on in general in pretty much all phases of my life. So that was a thing. Um, the It is 8:25, so I don't have that much time, which is probably a good thing. Probably means it's going to be a good short video. And it was when I went out. It's sunny and beautiful outside. The little pop up over here was telling me that it was 61 degrees. I didn't think it was that cold, but it was. I think the humidity is low, so maybe that's why it didn't feel so cold. Um, like the last couple weeks, it's been like literally darn near 100% humidity. And then, um, oh no, it's 100% humidity today. It says it's 61, but it feels like 74. And I definitely would say that that is about right. That's about what I would have thought it was like right at 70 degrees. So I don't know what part of this makes it. I notice that when this pressure is high, I tend to get head headaches. I would love to dig into why, like, it feels like it's 74 right now, even though it's 61. But I guess that would be for another video. Brett, I think, wants her nut. There's that. And our dog. Oh, so, and then another, something that's kind of interesting happened is my wife had kind of her first taste of a viral video yesterday. She had a video that she put up on Friday that ended up with, like, well, it didn't end up, but at the end of the night last night, it had like 110,000 views. Typically she'll get about, on an average video, she probably gets 5 to 10,000 views. Every once in a while, one of them will spike up to about 25 to 35,000 views, and then this one just shot up to over 100,000 views, and it really had a lot of side effects for her. And another odd thing about it was that her video was, what do we want to say? Her video, she uploaded like 7 videos that day. Within an hour of each other, probably within 15 minutes of each other. She just, because that's what we do. We go out on Friday, usually go to a Mexican restaurant. She'll get a margarita. We come home, and she'll upload somewhere between 5 and 10 videos. And that's just the Friday routine. I know this because I download them and put them up on our website from TikTok. So she uploaded them at the exact same time as other ones. It was very similar to other ones, but for some reason it spiked up. And then yesterday she ended up with, like, she'll typically have somewhere between 70 and 100 people watching her live most days. And then, like, yesterday she had like a couple hundred for almost the whole time. So, that video did have a big side effect, and she saw a significant bump in her sales too. So, that was neat. It's just the future way things are going to work, I guess, is most of us will probably end up kind of working more independently. But anyways, so I have a failing unit test, and I've been thinking about this the whole day, all day and all night. Um, the thing I was coming up with is like, okay, the problem is that when this thing's going, it's using the actual service, and when it uses the actual service, um, the item that I'm passing it, the object I'm passing it, does not have an element, and because I'm just mocking one, and I didn't put an element on it, and and I remember we ran kind of through this issue before, and it's like there's two kind of things that are at the top of my list of things to think about on this, and one is, like, I probably do really need to learn how to mock an actual service it is a when it's added via the inject function, instead of through the constructor. Sort of like the way I think we kind of took advantage of the fact that in the past, the way you set up your services is you pass them in the when you construct the actual component. But now with the inject, you don't do that. So now how do you change the service? So that's one. And I probably do need to figure out what that is. And it would probably be very fascinating to sort of interact with ChatGPT and figure out what that is. But second, the other thing to think about is like, should I handle that? Should a not having an element be something that I handle in the service? Like, should the service be able to deal with with objects that don't have an element on them? And I don't know. Maybe I was, like I said, I was thinking through this, and I was just like, I'm not sure if it should or not. It seems like if I can send it an object without an element, then I should be able to. I should handle it not having an object, but I don't know. And then maybe like I should be sending a Boolean back on whether it initialized it or not. So let's go ahead and just take a look. And I guess that is a win for unit tests. Like, these are kind of thoughts that will probably make this code more stable, but I hadn't even thought of or wouldn't have ever thought of without unit tests. So basically, I think what's happening is it's coming in this create visualization. Is it coming in the create visualization? I don't know. Let me hit. I don't know. Let's go. Let's start from scratch. So let's go to app. I believe we're testing app. And app.ts. Okay, and so it was this guy, create viz for component, and it calls this create visualization. So we kind of pulled this out so that we could break away from needing, like, make this a little more pure. So and I think what we were really aiming at was trying to make this guy completely pure. Because it does not need the actual component. Even though we bind it to this, it could bind to any this. It doesn't necessarily need that. But then when we come in here, it uses the actual service. And then when it goes into this create visualization, it's breaking. And it's breaking because in visualization service, which is what we're looking at here, and create visualization, it's coming to this. And this thing, returns, create visualization returns a number, which is the visualization ID. And so it has a rendered view child object that is added to it, which then also has a native element on it. And then it's looking for that. So I don't think this thing, like, yeah, I think that having a visualization so I feel like, okay, so I'm kind of mixed. One part of me tells me that no, you should always have a native element, period. But then another part of me tells me, like, if you don't have a native element, then maybe you shouldn't create a visualization. Like, that should be required before you even create the visualization ID. Yeah, I think that is the case. And I think we should return a 0 if you don't have an element. It should, and that should basically indicate it. So we don't even want to create a visualization ID if we didn't get an element. And at least we have something, and maybe that won't be good enough. in the future, but I feel like this line needs to move up to here. And then visualization ID should be a like a variable. And we're going to set it to 0. And then over here we'll reset it. I think this feels like the right thing to do. And then if Ella. So I think this is going to say, hey, if this thing is truthy, then go ahead and do this. But if it's not, then return 0. And so I don't know, like this should not break anything. This, because in real life we have an Ella. So, and Ella is going to be my granddaughter's name. So that's kind of cool. But in this situation we have an Ella, and we should always have an Ella. But in this, yeah, we should have that. We should have an Ella, but if we didn't, then we should return a 0, and then we have a way of knowing that for some reason we could not create a actual visualization, which I bet you we're going to need that. I bet at some point we're actually going to need that. So first of all, let's save it and make sure it didn't break our application. So like in my mind, I had imagined having the end-to-end test running full time and just hitting the button and letting it do its thing. But, I don't actually think that is a real thing. Okay, so we did not break the system. This, I'm pretty sure, would have broke the system if there was a problem with this. Now, I think our unit test should pass. I don't know if it... Yep. So now our unit test passed because we are handling the case where there is no Ella, and we are not trying to unit test the actual service. We're trying to unit test the app. The app, it's not responsible for unit testing the service. So that's good. Now this will probably lower our coverage over on the other one because we probably don't have a test for when the element doesn't exist. But that's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood. Yep. And so now we're good here. Now, again, this is kind of silly because we probably wouldn't ever actually we would never actually do this, right? Like, this is not how animations are going to work. So if we get this piece working, then it's going to be more for the purposes of just proving that we can. But I do want to double check now. Will probably be the best time to check to see if to check to see if that other one doesn't. Well, I guess it's no big deal. All right, so I guess we should check our visualizations. And I think if we wanted to test all these, we would need to, that's so funny that this is the only one that has the little I, which says path not taken, when clearly this path wasn't taken. But I just don't even know. I feel like I should just ignore this one. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to because we're here to learn. So it makes sense to do this. So if we wanted to unit test this, and I don't even care if the render IDs are. So how do we get a render ID? Is it? So this is nice because render IDs is not a So what happens right now is the render IDs get set by as part of this effect from this signal, from a signal, from the ST render ID signal. Now, firing that off is going to be very, very difficult. So this has actually become a lot more challenging than it was. So what we want to do is kind of use however we are creating a renderer, and then like get a renderer ID. This is clearly something we're doing just purely for the sake of learning, not because this application needs it. And I don't. And yeah, I'm here to learn. So, oh wait, we need to add a thing. Okay, so when I call create viz component, so basically we need to finish this up here. So when I call create viz component, what do I expect back in this? So this sets it as initialized, but we don't actually want to always set this as initialized if there wasn't, like, so let's say this returned a false. If this returned a 0, then, oh, okay. Set initialized. So it almost feels like this set initialize shouldn't even happen inside the component. Go to definition. Maybe it should. Oh, that is the component. Okay, so I think that we should not set the initialized if the value is 0. So, and I think that is a huge so I'm going to say let so create visualization returns the ID, right? Go to definition. Yeah, that returns the ID. So, man, that is kind of nice. Let component ID equal to 0. And then component ID is equal to this. And then if component ID, well, see, now this is going to mess us up because then now we're going to have a branch that doesn't get tested. Okay, so, but I mean, we probably don't actually want to set it as initialized, but then like we'll need to test that. And I don't really want to. All right. I'm going to go cheap here. I'm just going to say expect that to be true. I don't think we want to do. I think we are, and I think this is the downside. This is where you end up with. This is where it just takes a lot of guts to code with unit tests because you can end up really over engineering everything. And that's exactly what I was about to do. I was about to over engineer the heck out of this thing. And just make it almost impossible for anyone to figure out what the heck this does because, yeah. So, I mean, at some point you have to quit edge case coding right? Like you can keep making up edge cases to the end of the world. And this used to actually really mess me up in my personal life. Like I would be like, oh, okay, we want to go on a trip to Orlando. Well, what if a hurricane hits? Oh, what if this hits? What if there's a meteor this or what, and I would just keep coming up with all these crazy edge cases, and my life just became almost impossible to get through because I lived in just a whole world of edge cases. And that's about like that edge case that I was about to code for is never going to happen. So don't code for edge cases that are never ever going to happen. And if it does happen and everything breaks, it should happen. It should break everything. Like we should never do that. So let's go ahead and basically finish off this and say expect, or write our expectation, right? That's what this is, an expectation, right? Expectation for this spec, and then we expect result dot to be true. And see, that's like the one thing. Like if I write unit tests and for this, and then this goes away and we delete the unit test, it's no big deal. There's no lasting impact. We just delete this and we learned. But if I do what I was about to do and just start writing edge case after edge case after edge case of things just because I thought of them while I was doing the unit test, well then that is just going to be in there forever, and I don't think that was a good idea. So now, and we'll go to this thing and see that we don't have that little message saying that there's no, and what we really want to do is 847, so we're good. We want to test animate visualizations. I guess when we do animate visualization with this test, we will sort of run into maybe some weird thing anyways. Because basically what we want to do is we want to create some visualizations and put them onto and put their IDs onto the, see, this is going to force us to truly understand how all this stuff works. So I guess it's a good idea. It's a good use of time. So and we're just going to say, let's change this, creates a viz for the component. I kind of like how that is, like sort of matches up with the spelling, but I mean with the case and that's not right? So this actually creates a viz component. Now temp tests for animations. Okay, so first thing we're gonna need to do is figure out how the heck we make visualizations, and we get render IDs by this from this signal. And right now, it used to be that these things, the visualizations just got, but now they get created when we hit the add. So we're gonna have to sort of do whatever this add button does. So let's see if we can just look in here and see if we can just kind of, so it's going to be in the app menu, and then add visualization. So this UI service add viz. And I'm pretty sure we are getting UI service already. Maybe not though. We may not get you. Yeah, we must be getting UI service because I'm pretty sure that's where the signal comes from. But let's go back and see. And I do think this is a good a good mental exercise for this. Yep, UI service. So it's called UI service, and it adds a service. So I'm curious, if I just add that service, what happens? This is probably my favorite part of coding in general. Okay, so what is add? I don't even know. Okay, so this dot UI service dot add. It's weird. Oh, that's because you don't want to put this in there. UI service. It doesn't know what UI service is? What do I call it? Do I not? That is interesting. So I need to get an actual instance of the UI service. So let's go to the UI service spec, because I don't really know exactly how to do that. Let service equal to UI service. I guess we want to do something like that. Something along these lines. Service equals testbed inject UI service. All right, so this is interesting. All right, boom. And then see if it can find it. Yep, it found it. Add import UI service. And I'm going to call this UI service. And what we learned in a previous video where we were working on these things is that it's a singleton, so it will be the same UI service that the actual application is using in here. So so that's good. So UI service, was it equals testbed dot inject? Okay, I just want to double check that that's right. Yeah, baby, did that right. All right. Dot adviz. And I think adviz actually will return the ID. So let's go take a look at that. Oh, it returns a Boolean. Boy, it sure would be nice if it returned an ID instead. Let's see what this breaks. Number. Under ID. I think that we only had that because, you know, we just did that for testing. But so in app menu, it's looking for a Boolean. Add visualization. So I think I would rather have the number. Which is the ID. And see, then I kind of think you really need to know what it is. Const stid is equal to I really do think this is an improvement. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think this is an improvement. I think it still breaks stuff though. Right, because like all kinds of other stuff are expecting. So when I added visualization, I don't think there's anything wrong with returning. Okay, so viz added is false. Truthy. To be 0. Falsy. All right, so that fixes that. What else do we got broken? Click viz handler, returns a number. What else is broken? Okay. Boom. Add viz. Add viz. So everything seems to be working. 8:56. Time for me to head on out. Let's see. Here we are. We'll hit save here. Curious if anything, if we got any kind of improvement now, because we didn't call the animation, but we will continue here. I do think returning that number was a good idea, and I do think that that is a very good habit, and I think as I kind of remember a lot of issues I've had in my life experiences, that probably would have solved a lot of problems that I ended up running into. It's just like, hey, if you create an ID, return the ID. Don't, because at some point you're probably going to need that ID. Just because you don't need it when you delete it, when you're doing that, as you start to add extra features, you're going to need that. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.